When I first retired, I thought it would be all long walks, coffee on the porch, and maybe a few vacations. And don't get me wrong, those things are wonderful. But after a few months, something surprising happened. I started to feel restless. Not bored exactly, just like I still had something more to give. And let's be honest, a little extra income never hurts, especially with how unpredictable everything's gotten lately. Have you ever found yourself wondering, is this it? After you step away from your 9 to 5, you spend decades building your career, raising your family, saving what you can, and then suddenly the routine is gone. The purpose shifts, and that can leave you wondering what comes next. That's exactly where I found myself. Not desperate, but curious. Curious about whether I could still be useful, productive, and maybe even earn a little money while doing something I actually enjoy. And I'm not alone. Studies from places like the Stanford Center on Longevity show that more and more retirees are choosing to work in some capacity, not because they have to, but because they want to stay mentally sharp, socially connected, and yes, financially flexible. The term they use is productive aging, and it's all about staying engaged in meaningful activities as we get older. Whether that's mentoring, freelancing, creating, or consulting, there are so many paths we don't talk about enough. So, in this video, I want to share what's been working for me, practical, realistic ways I've found to bring in extra income after retirement, without burning out or giving up the freedom I worked so hard to enjoy. And whether you're just starting to think about this or already exploring options, I hope it gives you some ideas, encouragement, and maybe even a spark of inspiration. Before we keep going, I'd love your help with something. If you're enjoying this video so far, comment Y below. If not, comment N. It helps me know what's working and what to improve. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Now let's dive deeper. The first big shift came when I realized that retirement doesn't have to mean the end of earning. It just means you get to do it on your own terms now. No more 40-hour weeks unless you want them. So I started thinking, what skills do I have that others might still need? For me, that turned out to be writing and editing. I spent most of my career in corporate communications, so I had years of experience in storytelling, branding, and polishing other people's work. I signed up for a few freelancing websites, created a simple profile, and started pitching small projects. At first, I was nervous. Was I too old for this? Would people actually hire someone in their 60s or 70s? But here's the truth no one tells you. Experience is your superpower. One client told me, "I hired you because you've actually lived a life. I can feel that in your writing." That meant the world to me. And it reminded me that while younger freelancers might have energy, I had perspective, patience, and professionalism. Now, I take on just a handful of clients a month, enough to keep things interesting and bring in a few $100s here and there. It's not about getting rich. It's about feeling useful, valued, and mentally sharp. And that's not just my opinion. A study in the journal Psychological Science found that retirees who engage in mentally stimulating work tend to have slower cognitive decline. That means doing meaningful work isn't just good for the wallet, it's good for the brain too. Of course, writing isn't everyone's thing. I know someone, let's call her Linda, who spent 30 years as a school teacher. When she retired, she didn't want to completely let go of that part of her identity. So she started tutoring kids online, just a few hours a week. She sets her own schedule, chooses subjects she loves, and works from the comfort of her living room. The extra cash helps her spoil her grandkids, and the confidence boost? Priceless. The key is to think about what you already know, what you enjoy doing, and where those two things overlap with what people are willing to pay for. It might be baking, sewing, fixing things, teaching music, coaching, or even just listening. Yes, there are paid roles out there for people who can lend a compassionate ear. Another angle I explored was selling things online. I started small, just decluttering around the house. You'd be amazed how much value is sitting in your attic or garage. Tools, vintage cookware, old toys, they all found new homes thanks to platforms like eBay and Facebook Marketplace. And once I got the hang of it, I started picking up extra items at garage sales and thrift stores, reselling them for a modest profit. It became a little treasure hunt, and honestly, it was fun. I wasn't just making money, I was learning, connecting with people, and getting a bit of excitement out of the deal. Of course, not every idea is a winner. I tried starting a YouTube channel once. Let's just say, I learned a lot. It didn't take off the way I hoped, but the process taught me video editing, better communication skills, and a whole new respect for content creators. And here's the thing, even the failures brought growth. Making money after retirement doesn't have to be about pressure. It's about possibilities. And that's what this journey has taught me most. There's always something new to discover. We're not past our prime. We're just getting started in a new chapter. In the next part, I'll share a few more ways people I know are earning after retirement, including one surprising method that requires zero startup money, no tech skills, and barely any risk. It's not for everyone, but for the right person, it's a game changer. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. This video is for informational purposes only and is based on publicly available research. Everyone's health is different, so always consult your doctor or a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your lifestyle, diet, or exercise routine. Scientific knowledge is always evolving, and what works for one person may not work for another. Now, when I left off, I promised to share a surprising way some retirees are making money that doesn't involve tech skills, investments, or even leaving the house. And here it is, participating in research studies and surveys. Sounds a bit odd at first, right? But stick with me. There are universities, hospitals, and private companies that regularly run studies looking for people in the 60-plus age group. Sometimes it's about how we use certain products, or how we respond to memory exercises, or even how we sleep. These studies are often short, easy to do from home, and they pay anywhere from $25 to several $100s depending on what's involved. A friend of mine, Paul, started doing this just as a curiosity. He joined a database for a local research center and now gets invited to participate in projects every few months. Some are phone interviews, others are online surveys. One time, he even got paid $500 just to wear a sleep tracker for 2 weeks and log his experience. Not bad for something he was already doing anyway, sleeping. It's worth checking with local universities or sites like ResearchMatch or Respondent.io to see if you qualify. And the added bonus? You feel like you're contributing to something bigger, helping science, improving products, or advancing health research. Now maybe you're thinking, I'm not really into that. I like people. I want to connect, not sit in front of a screen. Perfect. Because another great path for earning after retirement is what I call compassionate work. Things like pet sitting, babysitting, or elder companionship. These aren't just income opportunities, they're lifelines for people in your community. And they're surprisingly rewarding. Take Susan, a retired nurse I know. She didn't want to go back into full-on healthcare, but she missed being around people. Now she works part-time with an agency that pairs her with seniors who just need someone to check in, chat, or help with light errands. She chooses her own hours, makes a little money, and says it's the most fulfilling job she's ever had. And she's not alone. This kind of work is growing fast, especially as more families need help caring for aging parents. In fact, the Bureau of Labor Statistics has noted that home and personal care roles are among the fastest growing occupations in the country. And while many of these roles are full-time jobs, there's a growing market for casual, flexible help, especially from someone who understands the aging process personally. Sometimes just being there is the service. Now let's swing to the other end of the spectrum, because maybe you're thinking bigger. Maybe you want to turn a hobby or passion into a real side business. That was the case for Robert, a retired electrician. He always loved woodworking, but never had the time to really dive into it while working full-time. After retiring, he started making simple birdhouses and garden planters, first just for himself and friends, then selling them at local farmers markets. He eventually opened a tiny booth at a craft fair, and now has a little Etsy shop that brings in a couple $100s a month. It's not a huge empire, but he doesn't want it to be. What he loves is having a creative outlet that earns while giving him a sense of pride. And people love that his pieces are made with care and skill, something you can't always find in mass-produced items. The same goes for retirees who knit, paint, fix bikes, bake sourdough, or grow herbs. The internet has made it easier than ever to find niche audiences for handmade or homegrown goods. And platforms like Etsy, Facebook Marketplace, or even local bulletin boards at the library or community center can get the word out fast. Of course, it's not just about hobbies. Some people use retirement to share what they've learned over a lifetime by coaching, mentoring, or teaching. A gentleman I met through a local volunteer group was a retired accountant. He started offering tax prep help during the busy season and quickly found himself with a full calendar of appointments every February and March. He doesn't charge much, but it adds up, and his clients love that he's not trying to sell them anything, just genuinely wants to help. This kind of experience-based consulting is something anyone can do. You don't need to be a formal business consultant, just someone with wisdom and time. Whether it's helping young entrepreneurs understand budgeting, mentoring students entering your former field, or guiding new parents with life skills, it all has value. And sometimes people are willing to pay for that kind of personalized support. And here's where the science comes in again. According to the Harvard Study of Adult Development, which has been tracking people for over 80 years, one of the biggest predictors of happiness in later life is meaningful relationships and engagement. So when you take your life experience and use it to help others, whether paid or not, you're doing more than earning. You're enhancing your own well-being. You're staying mentally active, emotionally connected, and reinforcing your sense of purpose. That, more than anything, is the secret to thriving after retirement. And yes, earning money is great. It gives you options. It takes some pressure off your savings. It helps you afford the little luxuries or surprises that life throws your way. But what's even better is that you get to earn it doing something that feels right for this stage of life. So what's the takeaway here? Whether it's small tasks, creative projects, service roles, or passing on your wisdom, there are so many ways to bring in income without sacrificing your freedom. And there's something out there that matches your interests, pace, and purpose. Coming up next, I want to talk about the emotional side of this journey, because let's be honest, making money is one thing, but facing fears, self-doubt, and unexpected obstacles in retirement is another. I'll also share how I pushed through some of my own "I'm too old for this" moments, and what I learned that might just change the way you see your future. Alright, let's keep going. We've talked about practical ways to earn, like part-time gigs, surveys, and even turning hobbies into income. But if you've reached this point, you might be wondering about something deeper. What happens when we want to move forward, but our inner voice says, "It's too late," or "I'm not good enough anymore"? Yeah, let's talk about that. See, what often holds us back after retirement isn't a lack of ideas or opportunities. It's fear. Fear of failing. Fear of being judged. Fear of not keeping up. And it's so common, we just don't always admit it out loud. I remember when I started sharing my own retirement journey publicly. I was excited, but also scared stiff. I thought, who's going to listen to me? I'm not some expert. I'm just figuring it out like everyone else. But then something amazing happened. People started relating. They appreciated the honesty more than the perfection. And the truth is, we all carry this idea that the world belongs to the young. But guess what? That's changing fast. More and more people are not just working later in life, but reinventing themselves completely after 60, 70, even 80. We're seeing retired nurses become wellness coaches, former teachers writing children's books, and lifelong employees opening their first small business at 65. A recent AARP study found that people over 50 are starting businesses at nearly twice the rate of younger entrepreneurs. Why? Because we've got something they don't: life experience, patience, and perspective. We're not chasing trends, we're solving real problems. Still, it's not always easy. I won't sugarcoat it. There will be setbacks. Like when I tried offering an online class and barely got any sign-ups the first time. I was discouraged. I thought, well, that was embarrassing. But instead of quitting, I asked a few trusted friends for feedback, tweaked the title, made the lesson shorter. And guess what? The next round filled up. Sometimes it's not that the idea is wrong, it's just the approach that needs adjusting. That's why resilience matters more than perfection. If you're willing to try, learn, and tweak as you go, you're already ahead of most people. Let me tell you about Maria. She spent 35 years as a receptionist. After retiring, she felt a bit lost, but she had always loved organizing things: schedules, files, paperwork. One day she helped a friend organize their home office and realized, hey, I'm good at this. Now she has a small client base, helping others declutter and streamline their workspaces, especially remote workers who feel overwhelmed. She had zero marketing experience. No website, just word of mouth and a little courage. And her business now earns her a steady income, just enough for vacations and treats she used to pass up. And that's the thing, the best opportunities aren't always flashy. They're often sitting right in front of us, waiting to be noticed. So what can you do if you feel stuck or unsure of your path? Start by asking yourself 3 questions. 1. What do I enjoy doing, even if no one pays me? 2. What do people often ask me for help with? 3. What life experience have I had that someone else might benefit from? Your answers don't have to be groundbreaking. If you love gardening and people always ask for your advice, maybe you can offer beginner garden consultations or even host a small workshop at your local library. If you're great with grandkids and storytelling, could you offer story hours or reading sessions for young kids whose parents need a break? There's value in what comes naturally to you, even if it feels too simple. And that brings me to another important truth: simplicity sells. We live in a world where everyone's busy, distracted, and overwhelmed. If you can offer a calm, reliable solution, whether that's baking homemade treats, running errands for neighbors, or teaching someone how to use their smartphone, you're solving a problem. And people will pay for that. But it's not just about income. Let's talk about confidence, because earning money again, especially on your own terms, builds it in ways that nothing else does. It reconnects you with your capabilities. It makes you feel useful and proud. And that's so important for emotional health after retirement. There's even scientific backing for this. A study published in the journal Psychology and Aging found that older adults who engage in meaningful activities, including part-time work or volunteering, report greater life satisfaction and lower levels of depression. That's powerful. It means we don't have to just pass time in retirement. We can fill it with purpose. Now, I'm not saying you need to grind or hustle like you're 25 again. Absolutely not. This stage of life is about balance. You get to decide how much, how often, and for what purpose. Want to work 1 day a week? Great. Want to earn just enough to fund your travel dreams? Perfect. Want to keep busy simply to stay sharp? Wonderful. You don't owe anyone a retirement plan that looks like theirs. This is your time. And when challenges show up, and they will, remember this: you've already done hard things. You've worked decades, raised families, overcome personal and professional hurdles. Starting a new venture or trying something unfamiliar, that's just one more mountain, and you've got climbing experience. As we get closer to wrapping up this conversation, I want to touch on one last piece that ties everything together: how to stay motivated and emotionally grounded through this journey. Because yes, money matters, but meaning matters more. So in the final part of this video, we'll talk about how to align your income goals with your values. I'll also share some small, realistic steps you can take right now, today, to get started. No big leap needed, just one foot in front of the other. So here we are. We've talked about finding purpose, overcoming fear, and how earning money after retirement isn't just possible, it's deeply rewarding. But how do you actually start? Especially if you're sitting there thinking, okay, I'm inspired, but what now? Let's make it real. No fluff, no fantasy, just small, steady steps that can truly make a difference. First, revisit your why. Not your neighbor's reason, not something you saw online, but your own why. Are you doing this to supplement your income? To stay active? To fund a dream vacation? Maybe to help your family without dipping into your savings? Your why will guide your what. And when things get tough, it'll be your anchor. Now let's talk action. If you're ready to dip your toes in, start simple. Ask yourself, what's one small thing I could offer in exchange for a few dollars that uses my skills or passions? It could be something like proofreading documents, dog walking, selling handmade items, tutoring, or even helping someone clean out their garage. These aren't just odd jobs, they're confidence builders. And they open doors you didn't even know were there. In fact, that's how my friend Tom got started. He was a retired mechanic who thought his working days were over. But after helping a neighbor inspect a used car, word spread. A few months later, he was getting regular calls from people asking him to come along when they were car shopping. It became his consulting gig, and now he earns a few $100 a month just giving his expert opinion. It all started with one favor, and a willingness to say yes. The beauty of retirement is you don't need to rush. You're not chasing a career ladder anymore. You get to explore at your own pace. And that's a gift. Now, let's ground this in one last piece of science. A long-term study from Stanford's Center on Longevity showed that having a sense of purpose in later life is linked to better cognitive function, less chronic disease, and greater emotional well-being. The researchers found that even small, goal-oriented activities, like managing a budget, volunteering, or learning new skills, can extend quality of life. In other words, finding a meaningful way to make money isn't just good for your bank account. It's good for your brain, your body, and your heart. So let's wrap this up with 3 tiny steps you can take today. Yes, today, that can move you forward. 1. Make a list of things you enjoy doing or are naturally good at. No pressure, just brainstorm. Don't judge any idea, just write them down. 2. Pick one person in your life and ask them this. If you had to pay me to do something I'm good at, what would it be? You'll be surprised at what they say. 3. Try one small action this week. List something for sale. Offer a service to a neighbor. Sign up for a local class that might spark a business idea. One step is all it takes to start momentum. And remember, you are not too old. You are not too late. You have something valuable to offer because you have lived, learned, and loved. That's a kind of capital no one can replicate. We live in a time when technology and community make it easier than ever to start small and grow naturally. Platforms like Etsy, Upwork, TaskRabbit, and even your local Facebook group can be places to test the waters. You don't have to go it alone, and you don't have to know everything up front. There's a great quote I love by Maya Angelou. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. That's true of creativity, and it's true of courage. So whether you want to earn a little extra, feel more purposeful, or simply explore what's next, know that it's absolutely possible. And hey, we'd really love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions for future topics or questions you want answered, write to us in the comments below. We're here to help, and your input could inspire our next video. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on more practical tips for healthy aging. Here's to living your best life at any age.